All right, so to remove the housing from your Gladiator, you've seen a lot of videos, but to save some time, it's just removing one bolt here and one bolt here, and they're 8 millimeters. That's what I was using. And then you push it to the side, and then you pull. Or tap, what have you. This is the little piece that hooks in right here. So that's why you have to push it to the side first before pulling it out, so it releases those tabs. If not, you'll break the tabs. All right, when you're going in and separating the housing from the main electrical source, it says to go ahead and, in every video that you see, talks about popping that out, pressing down, and then pulling. If you do a lot of off-roading like I do, you're gonna notice it gets pretty dirty. So in between, it might be just a little bit dirty, but this is the black button that they're telling you to press. You can't really see a whole lot here, but if you look behind it, you'll see that you have to raise it up quite a bit to go ahead and pull it off. This helps. All right, so here's a little pro tip. If you push and push and you just can't seem to get that off of that little ledge right there, a little bit hard to get in there, what you can do instead is get a small flat tip screwdriver, and you just basically wedge it up in there until it comes off, and then pull. And it's that simple. Sorry, I couldn't hold it and demonstrate at the same time, but the basic principle is that you're using the flat tip screwdriver to lift that little black piece that's right there up. And then it just pretty much slides off. Pretty quick, pretty simple. This is the only thing that's really holding it on. All right, so it's here. Kind of a cool box. Nice little presentation. Has exactly what is in here. Has a decal, or should I say a QR code for being able to get the instructions. I had talked to them, or not talked to them, but sent them a chat on Instagram, and they basically said that they didn't have one for a JT, so I'll be posting this and tagging them on it, and we'll see how it goes. Once again, I'm not paid for this. These were not given to me. These were not discounted to me, so this review is just my personal review. It's unbiased, because at the end of the day, I'm not getting paid one way or the other. I'm not getting sponsored. So what you're seeing when I do these videos are my unbiased review. Now, if somebody wants to sponsor me afterwards, great, so be it. But I'm not going to change the video. All right, so unwrapped. These are how it appears. Those are the clips that will mount here, and then I'll have to read up to find out, or look at their thing to find out how they expect me to mount those to those plates there, because they don't have your typical thing on the back of it. So as an example, this is the back end, and those little rubber grommets that you see there and there are what fit into these rubber grommets, and they're just pushed in. So I'll look online and see what they say. All right, so I looked online and found the instructions, and so you have to actually remove these little ball sockets, ball joints, whatever you want to call it. It's a normal 10 millimeter socket, like everything else in Jeep, and this one's been kind of a bear. I was able to get the other one out pretty easy, but I'll just keep playing around with this. But it does come out. It's just a matter of, this almost looks like a self-tapering screw head that's used, so maybe that's what it is, who knows. Well, it can't be self-tapering since it doesn't come to a point, but it does come off. I got one off. It just may be the fact that I'm trying to do this one-handed. So be right back. All right, so those ball joints, just tighten them in. Highly recommend just doing a little bit of hand tightening first, and then getting your ratchet, and then just completing the tightening them down. It has a pretty long cable here, and it has looks like it's a 50-watt resistor, and it's most likely because of the LEDs. Kind of interesting because it doesn't have like a bracket for them, and it doesn't say, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z, and it's a little bit puzzling because you have what looks like where you would mount it, but there's not really a place to mount it. And the instructions, if I'm understanding correctly, just say you plug it in and then tighten it up and push the grommets in. So that's what I'm going to basically do, is just plug it into the connector from what we showed earlier and how to disconnect that, and then just tighten these two bolts up. All right, well, it's installed. I think it's going to be okay. I'm a little bit concerned, just that it's a little bit of gap. I'm worried about some water getting in there to that capacitor, because as you can tell, it's flush mount. It's much better than what I've seen and heard stories about on Oracle, and it's just that those ball joints that you have to install, I just don't know if how well they're in or out. They seem like they're pretty snug in there. This was pulled away a little bit, but as soon as I added the two bolts that are from the factory, then it pulled it in pretty well. Nice rubber seal here, rubber grommets here and here. You can somewhat see the Combat Off-Road right there. So far it looks okay. Just have the other side to do, but it didn't take that long. The comment that I would make for Tailgunner, or a recommendation to maybe be a little bit better, because it does not come with any hardware, and that's okay. I mean, not the end of the world, but this wiring that you have for the tail light, it's quite a bit of wiring, right? And it's needed because of all the functionality and everything that you're trying to do with it. But when you're inserting it in here, you can also tell that that's a lot of wiring to go in that space, and you have to be concerned not to get at the back end of where these screws are that are going into the sides, because these are self-tapering, and so those could cut in as you're screwing these in through the side, right? So if nothing else, I would say maybe include some zip ties to zip tie this together so that it's less likely to get punctured by one of these screws. All right, so I did a little bit of troubleshooting. Earlier I was saying, hey, this didn't seem to seal very well. Well, I loosened it back up, and these became unseated. So as far as the grommets, so I put them back in. And then I noticed this was sitting really well, and it came out. So I think what might be happening, and what you may need to be careful of, is that when you're tightening the nut in here to pull it tight, that it may be pulling it out of the little grommet that's here. Because unlike the factory OEMs, it doesn't have clips to stop it from being over tightened on this side. So I'm gonna undo at the very least the top screw and try it. But that's what worked on this side, was that I just reseated it, tightened it up, make sure that it looked good and that it was sealing properly. But I think that may be what happens here, is that if you're tightening that screw too much, it may pop the ball joint out of that little grommet. All right, so yeah, as soon as I unloosened it, the tops and the bottom, the upper grommet had popped out, just like I had suspected that it did. And then I just popped it back in, and then I slowly tightened this until this seal was nice and flush. So a key takeaway when you're installing these is don't over tighten these. If you do, you may end up kicking yourself in the tail because it'll pop out the grommet. There they are. It really does complete the look. So I've gone through and replaced the bumpers, fender flares, inner fender liners. These are not combat off-road. These are a mix of combat off-road, DVA. The bumpers are all, the bumper and the rock rail, rear rock rail are both best top. And then I have one of the skid plates, and then some of the other things, the DV8. I got DV8 for those. Didn't do an install video on those, but I'll turn on the lights and see what it looks like. I did not flash this with a taser or anything else. I just plugged it in. Looks like it works. I'm gonna put the 4-ways on, see what it looks like. All right, so left turn signal works. And as you can tell, my front isn't blinking rapidly. Right turn signal works, and it's not flashing rapidly in the front, so it's in rhythm. And the brake lights work. So, all in all, looks like if the Combat Off-Road flush mount LEDs are a success, I'll probably go in and recode it so that it recognizes the rear tail lights anyway, but it doesn't appear out of the box that you need to. So big difference. I like it a lot so far. We'll see how it goes. Thanks.